Imagine standing in a dimly lit room, surrounded by shelves of old texts and faded photographs. My fingers once grazed pages filled with unusual drawings and indecipherable scripts. In that quiet space, the ancient astronaut hypothesis emerged as a set of claims asserting that extraterrestrial beings visited Earth long ago. The idea is that long before modern technology, beings from elsewhere may have interacted with early societies, offering knowledge that altered the trajectory of human development. Proponents of this hypothesis often point to certain megalithic structures as evidence. They highlight massive stone blocks fitted with near perfect precision, heavy monoliths transported over great distances without any clear explanation in the traditional historical record. Some refer to structures like the Great Pyramid of Giza, the massive stone heads of Easter Island. I remember a day when I stumbled upon a photograph of carved reliefs deep within an ancient temple complex. Though conventional explanations mention symbolic art or religious iconography, this hypothesis suggests that what was recorded might have been actual encounters with beings who traveled through the stars. On another occasion, I examined illustrations said to represent flight or energy beams, images that, to an untrained eye, looked surprisingly complex for their era. Proponents turned to ancient myths and legends for support. Stories describing beings descending from the heavens, bestowing agriculture, mathematics, and astronomy. Some recounted deities with elongated heads or unusual attire. Others told of luminous craft crossing the night sky. In one collection of narratives, people claimed their ancestors were given intricate calendars and star maps that aligned with constellations invisible to the naked eye. The hypothesis suggests that what many cultures revered as gods or divine messengers might have been travelers from distant solar systems. I recall feeling a wave of astonishment when I discovered reports linking certain alignments of ancient sites with star systems light years away. Researchers who support the hypothesis highlight correlations between temple complexes and celestial formations, arguing that these correlations might have required astronomical knowledge beyond what has been generally attributed to ancient civilizations. They note that structures appear oriented to solstices, equinoxes, or specific stellar bodies that require advanced observation techniques. In some cases, ancient texts mention beings teaching these skills, reinforcing the idea that early people received knowledge from visitors not of this earth. In dusty archives, I once came across unusual artifacts, small sculptures shaped like aerodynamic forms and clay tablets marked with patterns that resemble complex circuit diagrams have been presented as clues. The hypothesis suggests that such objects could represent attempts by ancient artisans to replicate what they observed, machines or flight devices incomprehensible to them. There are instances where the hypothesis draws attention to sudden leaps in human knowledge, agricultural techniques, and architectural precision. Some claim abrupt advancements indicate an external catalyst. They mention sophisticated metalwork appearing seemingly out of nowhere, intricate tunnel systems carved with baffling accuracy, and knowledge of celestial cycles encoded into massive calendars. During one late afternoon in a small museum room, I peered through the glass at a stone carving that seemed too finely detailed for the chisels of the era, prompting a sense of wonder. Such moments, proponents say, are not accidental, but the fingerprints of ancient contact. They also highlight instances where the ancient texts reference giants or sky people, imparting laws, moral codes, or technical skills. In certain records, there are mentions of luminous vehicles crossing the heavens, described in words that some interpret as spacecraft. I remember feeling a quiet unease, reading an old translation that detailed powerful beings arriving during a distant age, guiding construction of sacred sites before departing, never to return. According to those who embrace this perspective, these are not metaphors, but historical recollections of encounters with visitors capable of traveling between stars. Proponents sometimes refer to genetic hints. They point towards segments in humanity's evolutionary story that remain less understood, suggesting that extraterrestrial visitors could have influenced human DNA, steering the direction of human intelligence or physical abilities. Engravings and symbolic motifs, they argue, might encode that interaction preserved in cultural memory over millennia. While deciphering an old catalog of artifacts one afternoon, I found a strange sense of curiosity at items that didn't seem to fit neatly into known developmental timelines. Legends recount knowledge of complex mathematics and engineering principles appearing intact in civilizations that lacked intermediate steps. Intricate irrigation systems, perfectly leveled foundation stones, and sudden appearances of writing systems have all been showcased. According to the hypothesis, these bursts of sophistication might reflect transmitted knowledge passed along by those who came from elsewhere, who understood nature's laws and translated them into building methods and astronomical calculations. I once came across a set of murals depicting tall figures surrounded by halos of light, handing cylindrical objects to kneeling individuals below. Some say these cylinders resemble advanced tools, energy sources, or information devices. Elsewhere, cave paintings show odd figures adorned with what look like helmets, suits, or breathing apparatus. Though often interpreted as cultural dress or symbolic headdresses, in the context of ancient astronauts, they become reminders of possible extraterrestrial encounters. Gazing at these images, I felt a strange mixture of curiosity and surprise, imagining what it would be like if these scenes had been observed firsthand. In remote regions, carved stones bear patterns that some see as star maps, supposedly detailing destinations from which visitors arrived. The hypothesis suggests that these maps were not artistic flourishes, but records of genuine origins beyond Earth. Journeys that began light years away might have ended on fertile plains and river valleys of ancient Earth, leaving behind monuments aligned with distant constellations. I recall a chart spread out on a table, lines drawn between temples and mountaintops, each line said to connect with a star pattern. Holding a printout of that map, I felt a quiet sense of awe at the notion that people thousands of years ago might have welcomed travelers from unimaginable distances. Proponents cite parallels in disparate cultures. Distant civilizations separated by oceans share similar myths of beings descending from the sky. Some hold that these parallel stories are not coincidental. They mention recurring themes of tall visitors bestowing agricultural seeds, guiding the placement of stones, ensuring knowledge survived through floods or cataclysms. These similarities appear in carved reliefs, oral traditions, and sacred texts discovered in regions with no known contact between them. The hypothesis presents these similarities as indicators of a common source of influence, a point of contact in humanity's distant past. In the end, these claims reside in ancient carvings, worn statues, cryptic texts, and the silent testimony of massive stones arranged in patterns. Without pointing to present day acceptance or rejection, the hypothesis remains as a set of assertions that extraterrestrial beings may have visited Earth long ago, interacted with our ancestors, and provided knowledge or assistance reflected in the remnants of ancient sites and stories. In that quiet place of old documents and weathered artifacts, the idea of ancient astronauts lingers, wrapped in mystery, leaving only the evidence presented by supporters and the physical traces they highlight.